No matter what home I post a walkthrough of here on TikTok, I keep getting the same comments. Whether the house is large, small, in between, north of town, south of town, Sango, Kirkwood, it doesn't matter. You guys are all saying the same thing. And essentially what you're saying in the comments that I'm getting from dozens of you, no matter what house it is that the real estate is overpriced. Today we're going to get into why homes are the way that they are, why the cost is the way that it is, and I'm even going to give you an average projection for what a home will cost here in Clarksville in 2046. But before we do, my name is Dina. I'm a real estate agent here in Clarksville, Tennessee. I mostly service the south corridor of Clarksville, Sango, Kirkwood, Rossview. Been doing real estate for about 16 years now, and I'm going to tell you why pricing continues to climb and why you probably will be even more upset in 20 years if you didn't buy a house today. What I've also realized is that most of you that are posting about how overpriced properties are from Clarksville. I don't really see too many people who are moving here with the military or from somewhere else that think homes are expensive here. To be quite honest, for a decent sized metroplex or suburban metroplex, Clarksville's the cheapest of all the major cities here in Tennessee. So the only people complaining about pricing are people who are locals here. And let's talk about why and maybe what's causing that complaint. So I wanted to make sure I came to this video with facts. So I went into the multiple listing service here for Montgomery County and I pulled some data from 10 years ago. So I think that people don't realize the effects that the COVID times had on pricing around our country. The cost of everything went up tremendously. Don't you remember when we couldn't even find toilet paper? Like everything got more expensive, but it also had this really weird effect on real estate where normally real estate appreciates in this country somewhere around a 4% trend line. If you look over time nationally, every single year, all cities combined, if you take out COVID, 4% is genuinely considered great appreciation for the real estate market. Now, here's what happened. COVID actually screwed that up for everybody mentally because people who purchased 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago who were right before COVID, but really 2020 to 2022 skewed what people believe is good for real estate appreciation. And it sucked because prior to 2020, housing prices were pretty, what I would call average. But what happened is there was a blip of time for those 2.5 years where instead of 4% appreciation, our country saw 21% appreciation in some markets, and Clarksville was not immune to that. So let's talk about what happened in the MLS. So I went and did some research for this video and I pulled all sales from July of 2016, and what I found was kind of staggering. In July of 2016, the most expensive property sold in all of Clarksville was $510,000. Now let's talk about what happened in July of this past year, like 2026. July of 2026, the highest price home sold in Clarksville, which is actually almost exactly the same square footage as that one sold in 2016. Take a guess, put it in the comments. What do you think it was? $890,000. So why are properties going for $890,000 today that are in the same part of town and the same size as homes in 2016 that went for $510,000? Appreciation, my friends. It's interesting because all of you guys feel like the housing market is overpriced, but what's actually happening is 4% appreciation year over year for people who can afford to buy real estate actually takes a $510,000 house. And if you project out, I even just did the math, you can feel free to pause this video and go math yourself. That $510,000 house at 4% appreciation year over year from July of 2016 to today would turn that exact same property into an almost $800,000 home. So there's no magic, there's no trickery, there's no weird stuff going on. That's just the magic of buying and holding real estate. So maybe you're sitting there saying that sucks, or some other variation of it, or maybe you're sitting there complaining because you're priced out of the market. I understand that. But what I also understand is the magic of compounding and the magic of appreciation. And I want to share with you what it would actually look like if you got off your ass and bought a home, if you were able. I get not everybody's able, but if you were able, but you were waiting for prices to go backwards, had you been waiting for the last few years, it would have cost you like $40,000. So let's assume just for this video that you're done waiting and you're like, dang, that sucks and I wish I had bought a home 10 years ago. Well, you can't go back. You can't have bought a home 10 years ago, but here's what it would look like if you bought an average price home here in Clarksville today and you held that bad boy for the next 20 years, whether you lived in it or you moved out and rented it. A $400,000 home today, projected 20 years into the future, and I just did the math so I wouldn't be wrong. If you purchased that home today and you held on to it, you didn't do anything crazy, you didn't like refinance it or anything like that, and you just held it, that home would be worth $876,000. A $400,000 home would be worth $876,000 in 20 years here in Clarksville, Tennessee. That has nothing to do with the economy. That has nothing to do with anything other than average nationwide appreciation of real estate. So let's talk about what the average price home is going to cost here in 2046. And no, I do not have a crystal ball, but I do have math. Over the last 30 years in this country, appreciation, there's been some up, there's been some down, but the trend line for appreciation has followed around 4%. So if we take that same logic and that same math and no Jedi mind tricks, no voodoo, and we forecast out 20 years from now, those of you who think that homes are expensive now, buckle up, because in 20 years, in 2046, the average price of a home here in Clarksville, and I just want to make sure I wasn't messing up here, is going to be $785,000. So, those of you who think it's expensive now, I want to know what you think about waiting 20 years or in 20 years, seeing that real estate has appreciated to almost $800,000 in little old Clarksville, Tennessee. And before you come for me in the comments and tell me that I'm wrong or that's crazy or homes will never be worth that, I wonder what it was worth 20 years ago. So I looked that up too. Wait no further, I have the answer. 20 years ago, the average price of a property here in Clarksville, Tennessee was $136,000. So in 20 years, the price of a property has more than doubled. It's actually almost tripled. And so when I talk about going forward and the fact that homes are going to cost almost $800,000 here in Clarksville, people call me crazy. But it's those same people who bought a home 20 years ago for $130,000 and are sitting on almost $500,000 that don't understand how the math works forward the same way it did backward. So I know it's a little confrontational and I get it, but as a real estate professional, I would prefer to educate you than sing and dance on the internet. And so I hope this educated you a little bit about the joys and the woes of buying real estate. And I would highly encourage any of you who are probably still going to be alive in the next 20 years, no matter where you're living in the country, to buy real estate and wait. Because no matter what, yeah, we're going to have down moments and up moments. We're going to have the bust of 2006, 7, and 8 and the boom of 2021 and 23. Like, I get it. But regardless of where you stand on the issue, real estate is one of the only assets that will increase in value over time the way that it has. So before you come for me in the comments, those of you who bought homes 10, 15 years ago, just do the math backwards. It works the same way forwards.